So episode 10 of Fruits Basket came out last week, and boy oh boy, was it a heavy episode. This was the culmination of everything that the first half of the season had been building to. The confrontation between Akito and Toru, and the reveal of Akito being the god of the Zodiac. We start off with a cold open of the group all together talking about how they should light up some fireworks to celebrate the end of their time at the beach. But really, this is just a diversion, a scene to trick the viewer into thinking this is going to be a happy-go-lucky and whimsical episode. But no. In reality, this episode revolves around the struggle between two characters who are diametrically opposed to one another. Akito, the cruel and abusive head of the Somas, who's desperately trying to maintain his control over the Soma family as the Zodiac begin to slip through his fingers, and Toru, a sweet and humble person who only wants the Somas to be happy and have the freedom to be who they want to be. The difference in their characters is really demonstrated by how differently the Zodiac members act around them. Whenever they're with Toru, their true personalities shine through, and they have personal breakthroughs, and they work on their own demons. When they're with Akito, they're always on edge, they're reserved, they're quiet, they try not to provoke him and not retaliate when he insults or hurts them. It's even made perfectly clear that the reason they even let Akito walk all over them in the first place is they're protecting Toru from his rage at this point. They don't want to put her into the firing line. Obviously, this episode, that doesn't really work, but it's the thought that counts, I guess. We got a lot of insight into Shigeru's true character in this episode as well. Once again, he brings up that he finds it odd that Akito brought Kureno to the beach. And I think the meaning behind this is twofold. One, it reinforces the idea that Akito is losing control over the Somas and that he needs his closest confidant with him at all times. And two, it pretty much outright implies that Shigure is one jealous guy, especially since he said this so many times in the episodes leading up to this. So it keeps slowly revealing more and more of his motivations and making him seem less and less like a nice person, but then on the other hand, Akito starts to get more and more sinister and aggressive towards him and he just stares up at him completely unfazed. It's so interesting that a character can be presented as having completely selfish and unsavory motivations, but the way in which they carry themselves prevents them from seeming like a villain or a bad person. It's very strong character building. I mean, he basically gets Akito all riled up to go and confront Toru, but the way in which he does it is so charismatic that it's hard to even blame him. Plus, we even get a tie into future plot points when he brings up Ren causing trouble on the main estate. Shigure is bringing it with the development in this episode. And then we come to the confrontation between Toru and Akito. Now, the scene itself, in terms of its dialogue, wasn't really anything that fresh or exciting. It just did what it needed to do. It filled Toru in on the things that we already found out through other characters and flashbacks. I know it tries to trick you into thinking Akito's the rooster, but that didn't even make sense from a story point of view, so the god reveal was kind of obvious. And Akito gives the classic villain spiel about how Toru has no hope of helping any of them, etc, etc. But I don't think the actual interaction between these two is what the scene is about, ultimately. It's about how each of the different Somas reacts to what's going on. It demonstrates how each of them's changed from the start of season 1. Momiji, who's pretty much portrayed as a bit of a wimp, stands up to Akito and gets sucker punched just to protect Toru. Kyo and Hatsuharu, two of the more impulsive and violent Somas, hold themselves in check despite witnessing what's going on because they know it would just make things worse. Hattori rushes to tend Toru and is very gentle and kind after Akito scratches her face when once upon a time he would have just been cold and distant. Really, the only person that hasn't changed for the better is Shigure, but at least he feels a little guilty about what he's doing, so I guess that's development. And obviously the scene also reveals that Akito is full-on deranged and Kureno plays an important role in keeping him calm. All in all, this was a great episode and it was a good way to round out the arc. It showed tremendous character growth and development and has planted seeds for the next stages of the story. I'm excited to see where it goes from here, to be honest.